Welcome to Rock Foundations. This is a rockumentary telling the history of this music that we love, rock. When I was in the 8th grade, I finally inherited the radio that belonged to my older siblings when they went off to college. Now I could listen hour after hour, night after night. It was wonderful. Every Friday I'd come home and there'd be the latest list of the top 20 and I'd write it down meticulously. I kept years of those records of what was the hottest tune of the day. But I did something unusual that I noticed my other friends weren't doing. I was listening to the lyrics. Wow, what a concept. There isn't just a beat that you can dance to, but there's lyrics to ponder. What's going to be unique about this rockumentary, Rock Foundations, is that we're going to look at the ideas that were the foundation, the basis of what was happening at that time and what was being expressed in the songs. In particular, I'm going to focus on the period between 1965 and 1975. Why? Because that's where key decisions were being made by young people. And we need to analyze that closely to understand where all the rest of rock history came from. How did it all start? Rock was born in 1955 when Bill Haley and the Comets released Rock Around the Clock. By 1956, Elvis Presley was a legend. 20 million kids were listening to Bandstand every week. The transistor radio had been introduced at a price that the baby boom turned teenager market could afford, and the world has never been the same. Boy, that's optimistic. That's a lot of bravado. And it was a positive time. Rock really started in the mid-50s, and during those first 10 years, up to about 1965, what was the main material in the foundation of rock music? It was the joy of being young. It was the bummer of going to school. It was the difficulty of how do I relate to the opposite sex? How do I get a date? How does any of this fit together as I'm wrestling with all these teenage hormones? Wow. There was a lot to think about at that time. There was a lot to express. And that's what was expressed in the songs of those days. A lot about romance, a lot about teenage escapades and fast cars and things like that. It was a blast. What we're going to do in this rockumentary is that after I give each little chapter like this, then there's going to be one or two representative songs in this playlist that you can listen to that will give you an example of what I'm talking about. The song we're going to look at first is School Days by Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry was one of the grandfathers of rock and roll, and School Days was his song that most beautifully caught the joy and excitement of being young. Let's give it a listen.